the Stinky Popcorn Boys.
We watch movies and eat popcorn. And you're stinky.
Hello. We are the Stinky Popcorn Boys. Just some boys talking about movies and how they made us feel. I am Patrick Basquel, and looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Well, that's perfect. John. I think I was once called John. That sounds right. I butchered that.
Yeah.
But you know.
No, you did great.
Ah, fuck. Meat's back on the menu is probably
it's
probably my most recited quote of all time.
Look like meat's back on them. I
forgot about that.
I can't believe you. What about that lake? They don't need those.
In full disclosure, I didn't watch this immediately prior. I watched about 4 or 5 months ago. But
I've actually watched
I've seen
twice.
It. Really? Yeah. I mean,
I watched it twice.
I've seen this movie dozens of times, so it's didn't need to prep for it.
That's what I was saying. I've only seen it 2 times ever, and it was in the past month.
You're lying.
I just skipped the Two Towers. I skipped the Two Towers.
No.
I read the book. I was like, not my favorite book.
Wait, are you serious?
Let's get out of here.
Are you serious?
No, I'm kidding, John.
Okay,
John,
Jesus.
I'm kidding. I'm doing jokes on you immediately. Starting off with jokes, dude.
jokes. Oh man, there's a kid in my elementary school that he would like annotate that jokes are happening by saying jokes during class. I don't know.
Jokes.
I don't know. Just whatever. Okay, so yeah, we watched or are talking about the Two Towers. The second.
Dude, let's go all in. I'm all in on a fucking chaotic. We just did a shoot yesterday.
Indeed.
To full disclosure, we just did a shoot yesterday, and but we're both running on very tired bodies, limited sleep, talking about Two Towers. I've seen this movie 2 times in the past month, more or less, and John has never seen it. He just admitted to the fact that he has never seen the Two Towers.
I'm watching it live right here for the first time.
This is the first time. This is actually a live reaction to John watching the Two Towers.
So we'll be here for 4 hours as you're watching the extended cut. Buckle up.
Gotta get the extended cut,
get your
dude.
Is it your lambus bread and
get your lambus bread.
Lambus, that's it.
One mouthful enough to feed a grown human being.
Oh god, that shit looks so good as a kid.
I
don't know why.
It so bad.
It just like
pop it in my mouth. Let's go, dude.
Well, I think it was like the economics of playtime as a kid. It was like I could eat this and then I could just go play. You know, I don't have to worry about dinner.
I think as a grown up human being,
the economics of it are way better.
I would definitely like to eat lambus. I would like lambus bread to be an option for me because there's definitely times where I'm like vibing out or like I gotta run around, I gotta do laundry, I gotta do this, I gotta do other things, blah 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 blah, and it's like I don't want to either pick up food or I don't want to eat like bullshit.
Yeah,
it's like if I could just have like a pill or just like a bite of lambus bread that's like, guess what, you're full. Not like a skip a meal pill. Like this is all your nutrients, or this is lambus bread and it's perfect for you.
Yeah,
and like I think as an adult I would appreciate it more than I would have as a kid.
Yeah.
But as a kid, it definitely looked, that's like a buttery cookie. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Buttery biscuit.
Got some
biscuit.
some cookies from the Honolulu Cookie Company. They're like shortbread cookies, and they taste close to what I feel lambus bread would taste like. And it's interesting like I've been reading the book Sapiens, and there's a whole part about how like obesity and like gorging and binging is a human thing through evolution, because like as hunter-gatherers, you know, we would essentially eat everything in front of us because you never know what's coming next, especially if you found like a fruit tree. You would just fucking gorge on that fruit tree because you don't get that a lot. And then so, you know, due to the human brain and the invention of language and like shared experiences and imagination, honestly, is a big thing. Humanity evolved so fast, or advanced so fast, that they outpaced evolution. So that's why we gorge stuff, and that's a long way to say that I wish that existed, because I just want sustenance sometimes, because I know I'll gorge myself because I'm eating shit. I'm like, it's fucking good. Oh my god. Oh yeah, like just shoving like like a whole pizza down my just because
oh god, yeah.
I'm good after 2 slices, but I'm gonna eat 2 more because fuck, that's good.
It's because it's here and it's hot. Let's fucking get it. You know, like that's like the wings conundrum where it's like wings are both the best and worst food because it's like hell yeah, they're little and like 2 wings isn't enough. But the line as far as like when you're actually full, because that's one of the things too. That's why you got to eat slow, baby. Is like when are you actually full, and it's like it's somewhere between like 4 and like 5 or 6 wings, where you're like actually full with, especially with all the other stuff going on.
I could eat like 15 wings, easy.
But if they're there.
Yeah,
you gotta munch them all.
Gotta catch them all.
Munch them
gotta
all.
munch them all.
Gotta munch them all. So anyway, we're talking about the 2 towers. I laughed in the middle of that because I was thinking about.
Do we even need to introduce this movie?
Hey, what's the synopsis? 2 Towers. This is the second movie of the Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, baby. That's drug drinks. Drinks.
Or just rings. Drunk rings.
Drunk rings? No, I like drug drinks.
Okay.
Drinks. Not drugged drinks, but where you like purposely put ecstasy in a shot of vodka because you're going to
you're just trying to have a
the
good
MoMA
time.
Gallery.
Yeah.
You're just trying to have a good time. You want to vibe out at the MoMA Gallery, look at some Jeffrey Kuntz.
Hey. They sell good puzzles on the MoMA online store.
Okay.
Because obviously
I believe it.
It's like a lot of great paintings, and then they make puzzles out of them.
Yeah.
So,
a
little Christmas gift idea if you're trying to elevate your puzzle gifting a game for that family member who loves those things.
Yeah, and they've got lots of little like little sample art things. If you're like, I really love Roy Lichtenstein's Crying Girl, but I obviously can't afford it, and they won't sell it to me, and I can't steal it. So, getting a print of some sort of art thing from the MoMA Gallery or something else, that's just a great little gift.
It is.
There you go. And that's us, Stinky Popcorn Boys, giving you gift ideas for the holiday season.
It is the season.
One of those, how about this for a second? One of those could be the One Ring of Power, especially if your loved one is addicted to the One Ring of Power.
Yeah. So Sam should have got Frodo some puzzles. Yeah. But yeah, so 2 Towers. So take us back to 2002. What was the deal? What was your hype level here?
Oh my gosh.
I think for me, you recollect as I just asked that question. I think if I remember right, watched the first one, loved it. It was a surprise love. I think I shared this when we talked about it.
Yeah, you did.
And then, so I knew I was going to like this. And then my dad went to go see it ahead with my grandfather just because it got darker every time. So I was like, I got to see if it's okay with the kids. And of course, it was just that much more darker, I guess. I don't know. But it didn't, I think it was just my dad's excuse so we could go late at night and not have to worry about corralling kids and stuff. But then when we went shortly after, and
yo, that's a fucking veteran move right there. I just want to say that's a veteran dad move.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I gotta check and make sure this is good with the kids, and he's just going out there so he can watch a movie at 9:00.
Yeah.
He doesn't ever get to watch a movie at 9:00.
Yeah.
That's a fucking.
I put it together just now. I was like,
there.
oh shit, I see what he did there. But I remember what happened, or when he went to go see it, I was like, but anyone die? Who did cool stuff? I was just asking all these questions, how did Legolas do? And all these different things, and then this movie ties in the Rohirrim, which are very Viking Norse influence. So there's a point of pride and thinking they're sick, and they the Rohirrim really is a very creative spark. I always got my brain spinning because it was such a cool adaptation of ideas like Viking horse lords, essentially. But that's that's me putting myself in bringing you to 2002, John, around this movie. What about 2002, Patrick?
I think 2002 Patrick. I'm trying to think about how old I was then. Because 2001, I was in 4th grade, because that's when 9/11 happened. And then in 5th grade, and I read all the books in 4th grade. And I think that, like, it was in 4th grade that I tried to read the Silmarillion. And that was an epic failure.
Of course.
So I think I probably 5th grade. Man, I was still. I was still vibing. I was still vibing. I would say that the tone of this movie matched the tone of my 5th grade year, because I was going, and this is again, it has nothing to do with Two Towers, but for me, Patrick Baskell, I was going to a charter school that I was just like, at that point, I had been there for 3 years, and my ADHD or whatever thing that was not being helped, it was not being helped by the lack of structure in this charter school that was like, listen, as long as you're doing something, it's good.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like, and then you know what? As long as you do good on the tests, the homework, we want you to turn it in, and we're going to be like, you have to stay inside and read if you don't turn your homework in. And I was like, guess what? I don't fucking care, dude. I got baseball practice after this. I don't want to play outside with these guys. There's no cool games anymore because you won't let us do any of the cool games. We're running around pretending that we have Super Saiyan stuff. So I was just really going hard on reading around this time. And I think the Two Towers definitely matched my darker tone.
Did you read it before you saw this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I, spoiler alert, in the book ends with Shelob. Like that whole thing. And so you're left with like, oh shit, Frodo's gone? What's happening? Wait, hold on. So the book ends that way. And I think that's like in the middle of Return of the King. Kind of. Or it's like maybe like in the first 45 minutes. It's like kind of the end of the first act.
Okay.
I don't know. I literally just watched Return of the King. But it's not in this. And I was like, what are they going to do with Shelob? What are we doing?
Alex, because you don't see her in this.
Yeah.
Ah.
You hear about her, but you don't see her.
It's interesting the pacing they did in this compared to obviously The Hobbit. It's just like that was like, I don't know, like how they stretched out one story into 3 movies, and then this they had 3 stories, 3 movies, but then you had to have like parallel stories and like all these actions and cutting back and forth. So I don't know. If it was a fun puzzle to piece together for them, as like Peter Jackson obviously was a huge fan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and that was one of the things too that I and like I think we talked the last time we talked about this, or throughout the many times that I've seen these movies over the past, because we watched The Fellowship and then I sort of like finished the trilogy, and then you were like, hey, let's do the Two Towers again, and like it had been like a month, and I was like, I'll watch the Two Towers again because my brother was in town, and it was like after Thanksgiving, and like it's like let's watch it again. I don't care. Me and John are gonna talk about it again at some point. We talked about that.
Did you do the extended version then?
Oh yeah, I can't. It's weird watching the theatrical versions now because after them coming out, I don't think that I have watched them.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't watched the theatrical versions since being in the theaters.
Because
we got the DVDs of the original extended versions.
Really? Yeah, I got
I
got the theatrical releases almost immediately when they came out. So then those were the ones I like lived off of, and I remember the plastic on the DVD box. They were like different themed colors. Like Fellowship was green, Two Towers was like a maroon, and then Return of the King was a blue.
Blue.
Yep. And then
with the Tree of Gondor on the thing.
Yep. And then I got the only got the extended the first edition for some reason. And years like when I recently watched it not too long ago, I watched the extended for all of them. And it just changed. It was like I mentioned it last time. I was like rewatching the movies for the first time due to the gap and due to just all this new content, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
And
there's like the versions that are on HBO Max are like even more extended. Like there's some things that are like the scenes are maybe even a little bit longer than they were in the original extended editions.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And like they definitely added more scenes. But I don't know. It's funny because I don't like they don't drag still for me. Like even them being fucking, except for the Return of the King ending, for me.
Yeah. I mean, that was even then in the theatrical
So
version. That was like,
okay, guys.
but even then for me, it's more just like, yes, more candy. You know, I'm down. Just keep eating it up. So it's for me. It never really bothered me. It was for me this is about Return of the King, but whatever. The like kind of multiple like ending fade ins, fade outs thing only bothered me in the sense of like, when is it over? And like in terms of like comprehending the close, you know, like the emotional build up, just not knowing that. But let me transition to how beautiful New Zealand is in some of these opening shots here.
Let's fucking, oh my gosh, dude.
And then, did you know New Zealand was the last major landmass to be like immigrated to or colonized or moved to by humans? It's only 800 years that humans have been there, so that's pretty crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's
another fun, real fresh.
Yeah, it's another fun fact from *Sapiens*, the book. But yeah, it's beautiful, and I think I love the sweeping shots. Like that's probably one of the most. I don't know, when you think about Lord of the Rings, you think about New Zealand and them running around. You know, the Fellowship, the big wide shots, and then Gandalf and them passing through that rock kind of gap. So iconic, so awesome. And then the opening with Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn running. It's just so cool, and it's like that aids so much into the kind of the imagination as a kid, you know, just running around with your friends. Like they're just running around. I can go do that, and you go do that, you know. And it's also awesome and beautiful. Like the vistas are so cool, and I don't know what the exposure of kind of the natural splendor of New Zealand was before then, but it definitely helped deliver a fantastical world. Like it's familiar but different. Yeah. And there's like, and that's been done so much with Star Wars these days. Is they go in Game of Thrones, they go to these locations that are real, but are underseen. You know, particularly. I mean, Game of Thrones, I guess, essentially Iceland's where they go for the north, but Star Wars, they go all over the place, and I think this is the best example of it, and I think Star Wars is pretty cool with it, but they've it's almost boring now, I guess, because they're only going to worlds that are tangible in Star Wars, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so okay. And so randomly transitioning to that, but I guess just to say that this is the best version of it. And it's just one of the reasons, many tenfold examples why this film is so good and ages so well, is not necessarily because of that, but it was the first to do it. I think probably not, but it was the first to do it, at least in my conscience, And well, I don't know, it feels good.
I think one of the things that having New Zealand be, and this kind of just speaks to like the preparedness and like the vision of it all, and I would say too, like having the balls to shoot it all at once, essentially, and having it be New Zealand again and again and again, it leads to a unified feel. Yeah. Whereas like it feels like one place, and then sometimes you can get to where it's like not necessarily in Game of Thrones, but I'll use this example where like. And it's not necessarily true because like worlds have different places, and that's one of the things that it's like, hey, this is like kind of a unified place, but there's subtle differences in the areas between Gondor or the Shire, or the not Mirkwood, because that's a different direction, but the Fangorn Forest, where it's like, hey, there's like a different feel, but it also is like, these are relatively close. Like, it feels close. It feels the same. It feels like the transition from this area to the next area.
Yeah.
And like sometimes in places where you go from like the various iterations of King's Landing in Game of Thrones, and then sometimes it feels like places, but I don't know, where it's like the difference between the feel of different places.
Well, that's hard because that's a TV show. But
yeah.
I do think that inconsistency of a TV show is its biggest is a big frustration I have with TV shows, and one that does it exceptionally well is Breaking Bad, just comes to mind. But then the ones that do it so bad, laughably bad is like the network or cable, like ABC, CBS, those shows, where every season the main character has a new hairstyle or something different, like, and they're just like, it's stupid. Like if you watch Lost, it's probably the biggest example that comes to mind. There is each season the characters just have a completely new style, which is even further ridiculous because they're on an island and it's a very like direct lineage of or direct line of time passing.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. I guess what you mentioned about it being in one space, being filmed all at once, it is something that really, really helps it have that unified feel.
And that's what I didn't realize. I guess I didn't realize that too, is that they shot it all at once, which is so fucking cool. Like that's like, granted, it's like, it's a lot, but like that's like one of my dreams is to like go to an island and shoot like this thing, and we shoot out this movie, and everybody lives on the island, everybody hangs out, and it's like a camp.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, but then, and that's what they did for the Lord of the Rings. We're like, we're going to hang out in New Zealand for 18 months. And I'm sure they like sort of like bounced in and out, and like, you know, Sheen Bean was like, I'm going to hang out for as long as I'm going to hang out. And then like, I guess I'm going to die. So I'm going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then, also the first book, doesn't, like the first chapter of Two Towers, if I remember correctly, is Boromir's like last stand.
Oh, really?
So it's like they like bled into it.
Well, I think that was a good climax having the first.
No, they did like I think that's one of the things where it's like they did such a good job.
Yeah.
And they were able to, Peter Jackson and Philippa Boyens were able to structure it in a way where it's like, no, this is the way this story makes sense for us making a movie.
Yeah.
Like, because we are telling it, and because we're doing it all at once. I don't know. I feel like that adds to it rather than having to.
That's like the beauty of having people who care and understand and give a shit when they make something.
Again, we go back to this,
and it's, I'm gonna bring it back, but you have like a cat, like,
do it to him.
Like, I'm gonna sound like the biggest neckbeard, but you have like kind of like the Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams compared to then a Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. Like, those guys are nerds. They love it. They live it. They understand it. Or J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
I don't think he's probably a fan, but he wasn't. I think he said as much. He's not like a Star Wars nerd, you know, like the way the other two are. And Kathleen Kennedy, she's been around it and she understands it, I bet. But it's more from a business perspective and capitalizing off of opportunities and storytelling, not as art, but as a form of media, I guess. It's like it's semantics, but I think you get it, catch my drift. And so then you have this, you know, you have, I don't know, Deadpool, someone who cares and gives a shit, compared to, I don't know, maybe some of the first Wolverine movies or whatever. I don't know. I can't find a good comparison there.
Or the third Wolverine movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, or
the third X-Men movie, not the third Wolverine movie.
So then you have people who understand.
Third Wolverine movie was great.
Yeah, that was Logan, right? Or is that the origin?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Logan. No, because there's Origins, the Wolverine, and then Logan.
Yeah. You need to rewatch this. You need to rewatch all the X-Men stuff. That'd be interesting to do. Not because they're great, but also because they're important films. So at least their first few. And I don't mean like
the first two.
I don't mean the like most recent ones. But I mean like starting from the original X-Men, Hugh Jackman going to Logan essentially. But yeah.
Yeah, so they definitely care about it.
Yeah,
and it's really good.
The more removed I get from The Hobbit, the more I really want to watch it critically, not like critiquing wise, but really critically. I'm like, trying to pick up the why and the how and how the love for this thing and meeting these different weird expectations from the money and the producer. I don't know, and whatever the mess up with Guillermo del Toro and that exchange, and I don't just that's gonna be I don't know how much I can extrapolate, but that's the perspective I want to go in and rewatch those, and I'm looking forward to that.
I just started watching The Hobbit, like just because like in like the 30 minutes before we're gonna get together and talk about it, because I was like, I don't want to start watching The Two Towers again, or like finish watching it again, or watch 30 minutes of it just to kind of like get it. But I was like, I want something like in that world, so I watched like the first 30 minutes of The Hobbit, and man, let me tell you, it's
what?
It's well, the thing is, and we can talk about it, but it's like you can see him trying to piece it together. I think even in the beginning, because it starts with like,
well, they had very limited time, right, to do this, like the piecing together.
Well, so the story is, and we can, if we want to talk, like, I think we should, if we talk, we should watch all three, but do one, like one. This is the Hobbit trilogy.
Yeah. One episode. I'd be down.
Yeah. But like, I think essentially what I know is that Guillermo del Toro is going to do it. He's working on it, and you can look up some of his like drawings and stuff. But he wanted to take it in like a Guillermo del Toro like dark magic sort of direction. Like if you watch Pan's Labyrinth, you can see the sort of like, and it would have worked really well, I think.
Do you think it would have felt cohesive to this universe, or would have been like his
I think it would have felt
interpretation?
cohesive to this universe because it's essentially 60 years before, and I feel like the world that they go into is a different world.
Yeah,
and it's like a deeper magic, a darker world. It's a deeper and sort of like an older world. In terms like, so essentially, and this is so essentially like Gondor and like Barad-dûr and Mordor stuff. That's like the center of the world, like the whole struggle, like because Sauron is essentially an angel of, and I'm butchering this, but he's essentially like the biggest bad guy of the big celestial bad guy, who was like sent down to try and he's trying to turn. There's many planets, and he's trying to turn this planet like. It's essentially playing a game of like galactic conquest, where it's like, all right, I'm going to turn this planet into a war planet so that we can eventually get to our big war with all the other Celestials together. And it's sort of like, so Middle Earth is just one part of it. And so he essentially was like, all right, I'm going to turn this into a war planet for my big god Morgorath. Anyway, so the struggle between Gondor and like with the One Ring, that's like the center of the universe. And this is sort of the center of the universe, so things like are a little bit more like clear. And then the stuff that happens in The Hobbit with like the Mirkwood elves, and then those are like, you get further and further away from the center, so things get a little bit more like, people are like kind of more on the same plane and like pulling on different threads, and like things are darker the further they get away from the like main darkness and the main lightness of like Gondor and Sauron. So I think that playing into that sort of like weird deep magic, because that's one of the things where you see that Gandalf is as old as time because his body has been reincarnated again and again because he is one of the fingers of the like goodness side of it, who won't like engage, but they're like, hey, fucking help him out because we don't want Morgorath to win. Again, maybe butchering that name, but like the big bad that Sauron is his underling.
It's crazy that kind of deep lore exists, but it almost exists for the writer, to tell a story that's more grounded and relatable, which is really cool.
Because the stories is still about these hobbits, and that's one of the fucking coolest things about it, is where it's like it's about the hobbits and it's about the people, but there's all this stuff around it to like that we are in the middle of this, and I think that's one of the coolest things about it. But I think that going deep and dark would have been really good, and not like in like a twisted. This is an old area that is untouched because it's outside of the main conflict.
Well,
so it's like things exist here that aren't allowed to exist because there's less traffic. Essentially,
I don't disagree, but I do disagree in the notion that like this is supposed to be man's darkest hour, like the 11th hour, one tick to midnight from extinction, like the trilogy, Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like this should feel like the darkest thing, and so maybe and so then like the world stakes and the state of the world and hope and that stuff dark, but I think even if that's not, those stakes aren't established, but even just the visualness of darkness and magic and like that lack of refinedness, I think to the simple, to the layman rather, like someone who doesn't know a lot of Lord of the Rings, and I would put myself even in that as an ardent fan, like not knowing the lore and like stuff, I would like, to me, I like when the Hobbit feels clean and hopeful and the stakes are low, but it's a contained thing, because for me, it doesn't get any higher than the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the stakes and the darkness and the lack of hope.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't know. Like I would have loved to see Guillermo del Toro Hobbit, but the idea of it being this dark thing, like I don't know if I like that either.
No, not Stark. Not like I mean like weird Celtic, and not like that the stakes are so big, because the stakes aren't big. It's goofy, like essentially it's like goofy. We've got these trolls who are doing this thing, but it's like we don't see that in this, where it's like very sort of like straight to the point. And I think when I say like,
I know what you mean now.
Dark,
yeah,
not like oh, this is the biggest, and it's like hey, this is like weird and goofy and little, and like there's like fucking weird shit that happens because things exist here that don't exist in the bigness.
So just more like fantasy and magic in the Lord of the
more
Rings story.
More fantasy and magic, and like it's like kind of the if this exists, then what else exists,
Yeah. Okay.
And instead, they made it so, because I agree with you. Like this is the deepest, darkest. The stakes are the highest here, and so it's like that's one of the things that's great about The Hobbit, is that the stakes aren't that big. That it's just like it's essentially just like your opening.
I'm going on an
campaign.
adventure. Like that line.
Yeah.
It's like I love that.
It's just that's what it is. And it's like instead of it being like kind of like a weird exploration of the like places away from the main track of the Lord of the Rings universe, it's like they made it into like in the first like 20 minutes they made it into like a weird, there's like a goofy song where they're like flinging stuff and dancing, and I'm like, weird. This is just a weird, and like it looks completely different. I don't know. I would have liked to see what he did with it, because I think it's like like The Hobbit is where it's and again I'm gonna take it to like D&D, where it's like The Hobbit is like 9th level through 15th level characters, and The Hobbit is like 2 through 7.
Lord of the Rings is the higher.
You know what I
level,
mean?
The higher levels. You mean, right?
Oh yeah, Lord of the Rings is not is like 11 through 17, and then The Hobbit is 2 through 7.
Yeah.
So,
would you ever run a Lord of the Rings campaign? Playing in
No.
that world? Yeah. I was curious. It's too perfect for you to touch.
Yeah, I would never deign to try and understand. It's not a world. I don't think it's a world like the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
That is built to be like fucked around with. It's like, no, I feel like JR's got this pretty good. I don't necessarily need to play around with this.
One thing I'm curious about the like Star Wars spaceship roleplay game with like the actual hard spaceship. Like I'm curious about that. If not, it looks cool just to collect a bunch of spaceships tied to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing I want there to be more game shops. It's just a personal issue where I live. Is that there's one
game shops
like board games and D&D and that kind of stuff, miniatures. Like the closest one is in Cary, and that's like a 45-minute drive. I want there to be more in the Northeast Raleigh area. That's a very specific thing I'm sharing right now.
Northeast Raleigh area, get on it.
Yeah, you got everything else. Get some game shops. Anyways,
what's your favorite part of the Lord of the Rings?
The Two Towers.
The Two Towers.
Yeah, for me, it is the third act with Helm's Deep, and then the Ent battle, kind of how it creeps in at the second half of that third act, kind of. Just because I just fucking loved it. I watched it on repeat. It was the Viking people, and this last stand is this heroic thing, and then you have the elves come in and help out, and it's just this cool collaboration that it's just cool to see that that cooperation that you didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's cool. It's cool to see the elves in action in a contemporary, like in a real time air quotes form, because you saw them in the flashbacks. You see Legolas all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit, Legolas is sick. And then you see all the elves. You see Aragorn leading them, and I love that the Helm's Deep sequence. It's one of my favorite of all time because it is actually it makes sense where they're trying to survive and they're trying to hold out and they're trying to there's 10,000 orcs and they're trying to kill as many of these Uruk-hai as they can, and you believe it. They're just peppering them with arrows, just trying to use that force multiplier of defense and the range attack and just trying to knock them out. And then you have the higher castles shooting their stuff down. And the way the Uruk-hai are just dropping, it's just you're part of the ride, and then the ebb and flow of the berserkers going up on the walls, and that's like, oh no, that fire that they're raining down is cutting off at the hills. I don't know. It's you're taken through the journey. It's almost a real time battle. Obviously, it's not, but it feels like it. You're hitting all the beats and the emotions and sway and the battering ram and all these things, and then the layer of defenses, and them actually defending a castle, unlike fucking Game of Thrones with the Battle of Winterfell. It is I don't know, it makes sense. It feels real, and because you could be on the train of thought it's just a story. It doesn't need to be real tactically or whatever, but it's this has some ground in the tactics, and it actually gives it genuine story beats and the way things play out. Because in Game of Thrones, they're outside of this huge Winterfell is supposed to be this huge, awesome fucking fortress, and they put their whole army outside. They charge the enemy with light cavalry with no support, and they put
into the darkness, into an undead army.
They put their soldiers in front of the trenches and spike pits. It's just dumb, and most people aren't gonna have that inclination of, I guess, siege tactics and defense tactics, but just watch the Battle of Winterfell and watch Helm's Deep, and one is done almost perfectly, if not perfectly, and one is done just stupid. And
it looks real, and thinking about it more and more, it just feels really stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've talked about it a bunch.
Yeah.
But it's why would you send all those horses out there other than for like the shot of them getting.
It was only a story beat. It's like
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where the
But then
where
you lose
D&D got.
you lose your cool guys.
But then she still had them later on when they took the King's Landing.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, this is a whole Game of Thrones thing, but just like, what's the point of that? Like that destruction, if then she still had a force that she could take King's Landing with. Yeah, like it is just a fucking mess. It's like, but like I've watched the behind the scenes stuff, and even watching it's like such a well made show, and like all these people did so many great things, but it was ultimately ruined by the writing and leadership to a degree. Like the departmental leadership was top notch. It's evident. It's so well made, but it's a weird thing. But anyway, so Helm's Deep, my favorite thing. It's one of my favorite movies.
Helm's Deep is so good.
It's one of my favorite movie sequences of all time. It's probably my most watched. I've watched this movie a dozen times, but I've watched Helm's Deep probably like upwards to 200 times, and I'm not even like exaggerating. Like as I used to every day, I used to eat cereal or chocolate milk or something. I don't know. I would go into the kitchen because we had TV in our kitchen. I would put it on. I would eat my cereal, and then I would put just two dining room tables. I would put them, and I would lay down across them and finish Helm's Deep on the TV. So I did this almost every day for a couple years, and then I moved on to Return of the King, and always started when the Rohirrim show up. Like I don't know. I know that sequence like the back of my hand, and it is one of my most favorites. So that, like. Obviously, that's my most favorite part of this movie. Really long-winded, but obviously I'm passionate about it because it is, like I said, one of my favorite.
Don't apologize.
Favorite things in any movie, in cinema or whatever, you know. How about you?
Man, it's got to be specific moment. It's got to be whenever. It's got to be whenever Aragorn pushes the door open and he's like, "What up, bitches? I'm here."
I do that all the time. In real life, when there's a double door and I'm like,
"There's a double door. You got to."
I'm doing it
open
all the time. Like
you have to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's one that's not Helm's Deep. I really like a lot of this one. I mean, and I was trying to think, like, what's my favorite? Do I have a favorite of the three of them? Of the three of the first ones? Do I have a favorite?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't, like, I think that if I were to, and it's very much like the original Star Wars, too, where it's like, I like them all for different reasons. You know, like, because in the Fellowship, you get in the I'll say one of my favorite part is the two scenes that Gollum has. That's not the Helm's Deep, but the two scenes that Gollum has together, where he's talking with Gollum and Smeagol, and like both the switch from Gollum to Smeagol and seeing that personality shift, and then the one at the end where it's the switch from Smeagol back to Gollum and they work together, and it's like that's some fucking good stuff.
Oh yeah.
But in going back to where it's like, which of these could or would be my favorite? And I was like, is Two Towers my favorite? Yeah. But then it's like, well, no, because I don't get to see Gondor, and Gondor's fucking cool as shit. And we got a lot of stuff there, and like getting into that stuff is like, oh, that's fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, I think what holds.
But then also in the Fellowship, because they do such a good job of like, all right, this is the look of this movie. Like the Fellowship, we're doing this, and like sort of like splitting it up that way.
Especially
and
since
then we have new looks.
Yeah, that they filmed them all at the same time, but each one has its own tone. Is huge. And a feat in itself. Like obviously, filming it all at once is a feat in itself, but like tonally and that they have different feels, and obviously that might have been some able to revise the edits as these were coming out. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I think they did some additional shooting at some point for something. But it's like it's also a testament to did Peter Jackson win an Oscar for this? Because if he didn't,
he probably did on the Return of the
they gave him. They were like,
got
guess what?
Everything because like Return of the King, I wouldn't say I don't know if I can't say what the best movie is, but I I wouldn't say it definitively is the one where it deserved 10 Oscars or 8 Oscars over the other two, but I think those Oscars represented the whole trilogy.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that when I was watching The Fellowship. I was like, man, this is pretty fucking good. But when it comes out, it's like, all right, well, let's see if he can do all three of them this way. Let's see if they can do all three of them this way.
Yeah. Do you want to know what it won?
Yeah.
Best Picture, Original Song, Best Director, Best Visual Effects, Original Score, Adapted Screenplay, Production Design, Sound Mixing, Costume Design, Hair and Makeup, Editing.
Because, I mean, like, the ability, like, the absolute preparedness of being able to do that, of being able to have them to have all three of these movies be cohesive and, like, it's just like an incredible feat. And it's just like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
He did a great fucking job.
They continue to age well, and the special effects really hold up. And when they don't, you forgive it because it's still good. Like, it's like...
Yeah.
And
it's not glaring. Like, the time... Like, it's so good. Like, the times where you notice it.
Yeah. Well, when you notice it, it's like Gollum running around, or like the contact of him on the real world isn't great. But when he's face to face with Frodo talking, or it's just like most shots with Gollum that actually like have, I don't know, it just reads so well and you don't notice it. And like, I think like another early 2000s film special effects that doesn't age well is Harry Potter 1 and 2 with like the rubber people, you know. And this has a little bit of it, but they don't rely on it too much, you know. And there's only a few parts where you can't forgive it. Like a Legolas on the Oliphant is probably the most.
That one's the weirdest.
Is probably the worst thing that aged in this movie, in the whole thing.
Well,
for me,
I think I would say that, and then the weird way his body moves, getting onto the horse when he's chasing the wargs.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
That's in this movie.
I'd say
that's
he like Two Towers worst
like
moment.
A weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still like, all right. Well, and what I was gonna say is like you forgive it because it's one of those things where, for the most part, it doesn't take you out of it. It's kind of like, for me, like when you see stage stuff and it's like, hey, here's the magic of this a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Because they do such a good job of blending, and having the Hobbits, like, of having it all work. Because they do so much stuff with forced perspective and body doubles and all that sort of stuff, where it's like that anytime there's any sort of discrepancy, it's like you're so overwhelmed with stuff that works.
You forgive
that
it.
when it doesn't, you're like, there's the magic, you know?
Yeah, you feel
we're doing the best we can.
You're let in on the secret.
Yeah.
Or something, maybe.
I think.
Yeah.
I think.
For me, I guess on the flip, least favorite is, especially in the extended, but is the kind of like the whole treant with Merry and Pippin and like, you're not orcs. Well, let's go check out and see if the other trees think you're an orc or not. And like treants move slowly. That's part of them. They're trees and they live forever or whatever. Like, it makes sense. It's fine. It fits, and it didn't. I don't know. For me, it was always a skippable part when I was rewatching my up until the fight, when I was watching the Helm's Deep act and section of the movie, but it's just not. It's not as interesting, and for me, it just drags. And then for me, again, I don't know why I'm clarifying for me, but it's weird.
Grab it, dude.
The Hobbit storylines are weird in the sense of like, I'm really into. I mean, they're all together in the first one, and seeing the Shire in the beginning, it's awesome, like cool, fun, top notch. And then in the Two Towers, you know, Merry and Pippin's story is interesting to me, and how it's converging with Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn, like it has a driving force.
Yeah.
And then Sam and Frodo is really good in this because of that. Because of Gollum's there and Smeagol and like all that. But then Merry and Pippin drag because it feels like they're stuck. and like the action to cut back and forth to, like they had to make it last to keep the like converging stories going or whatever. And then, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just rambling.
No, you just hate it.
But
You hate
that's
it.
to say,
I'm listening. I'm with you.
But then I'm bored on the Frodo Sam story up until they get to and meet up with Faramir. So I don't know.
Okay.
It's weird. The Hobbit stuff always was the weakest link to me. Not as the whole, but as
movie?
sections. When I think of weak sections in these movies, it's the Hobbit.
Okay.
A pair of the Hobbits at some point, or one of the Hobbits at some point.
I think each time it depends on how I'm feeling about it. Like the past couple times that I've watched through them, I've had appreciation for the both Sam and Frodo's journey in my like ever growing quest to continue to understand different perspectives of movies and like why things are in there.
Yeah.
Especially movies that I've seen again and again.
That is to say,
and then also
go ahead.
The Merry and Pippin Treebeard stuff is like, oh, okay, yeah, all right.
I think it's,
but it does still, Yeah,
well, there's so much rising action where this is stalling, and then the rising action is then Treebeard walking out to the tree, and then we're in the action. Like it's very weirdly paced compared to the rest of the story, I guess. And maybe that's my subconscious kind of like, I don't like this as a kid, and then today it kind of still renders true because of that reason.
Yeah.
But that is to say, on my most recent viewings, I did enjoy the Sam and Frodo stuff more because if you watch between the lines of like story and companionship and love and patience and all these different things that you can pick up from it, and that's just the beauty of good storytelling, is that it can really be anything if you
and then also
at its base. So I don't know.
Yeah, and then also you get the sort of the juxtaposition and like the growing sort of like, for me, the recognition of like, because I've been trying to sort of rewatch this with like, hey, what is Elijah Wood doing? What is he doing as Frodo in this? Like, what is his? Because it's always sort of felt like not flat, but like, okay, yeah, he's there, he's hanging out. But like in trying to do it, it's like there's more recognition and like sort of searching for like, what is my place? What is my place in this world of things? And then also this like sort of like direct juxtaposition of him and Gollum / Smeagol.
Yeah, I like like where they fit in this world of it, and I think that's ultimately makes it most relatable, and that's what the Hobbits are meant to be, and so like when they hit so good, and I think they mostly hit, but I think overall, for me, and maybe it's because of a lost opportunity, but because they are the most relatable, but they I think if I have to pick my biggest overall weakness of the trilogy, it's the Hobbits at some point with their storyline and pacing.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to what you were saying about how Sam and Frodo, like the Shelob thing was the end of Two Towers, and I'm sure that the Merry and Pippin story is all over the place too, in terms of like the like rubber banding and where it falls in line with the original storyline. So I don't know. I guess I just kind of spoiled it and went on my overall knock on the film. So it doesn't really, that's really it, and doesn't change my enjoyment. And as I get older, I enjoy those moments more. So I don't know.
Yeah, I love them. I love these movies. I'm glad they exist. They're good. Like, hey, we did them, and this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Like that this level of storytelling is possible.
Yep.
And then also, I just really like them.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. Me too. It's a movie I look forward to sharing with kids or nephews and nieces or down the line, because I think it's such a personal part of growing up in my childhood and things I love, and just the zeitgeist in American culture, media wise, pop culture wise, it's so important.
Yeah.
And I think it's so good, and it's not just the sense of quality, but it's just so good because it's a good story with a lot of lessons and morals, and makes you feel highs and lows, and it's about relationships, which is ultimately, you could maybe argue, as a human experience, is the way we love and hate each other.
I think,
and so
I was just thinking,
I think that's why it's so important and good and awesome to watch and share as new people come into my life. So
yeah,
I look forward to that. That's my
I
outro.
was just thinking about, that's a great outro. And I was just thinking about if this was if this was like the Bible, like
what the lessons would be.
Like the lessons and the storytellings and like what the individual. It's like, I don't know. I think it's a little bit more human than the Bible in terms of like, hey, this is maybe, I don't know. We don't necessarily need to wade into that, but I was just thinking about like in 200 years, if this was like, no, this is the Bible. This isn't how the world is, but this is how the world could be. And these are all like, if it was, because it's more like a Greek mythology version of it, where it's like, this isn't how the world is, but this is like the feeling of the world and the things that we want you to know about.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
You should start a church on this.
No, I won't.
It's a serious recommendation. You should do this.
Hey, you should definitely start a church.
Yep.
Well, what have you been watching, bud?
Well, 5 out of 5 stars, if there's any question. You?
Yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Watch it. Watch the extended version. Yeah.
But
do it.
My most recent watch, I mean, I've been listening, reading, however you want to phrase it, Sapiens. It's a really, really interesting book about the history of humans, essentially. And I mean, I think it's the kind of thing where anyone would find it interesting. I've been recommending it left and right. I look forward to someone taking up my recommendation and talking about it with someone. But then I watched The French Dispatch, which is Wes Anderson's latest film. I teased my feelings on it to you on set last night, and for me, it felt. I've seen, I don't know how many Wes Anderson films, maybe 5 or 6 at this point, and I'm on a journey to watch them all because I do like him. I do like his stuff, but I think it was the weakest one. It's kind of an anthology film, so there's like a kind of a loose through line in the present day, and then there's stories within stories on about 3 to 4 different arcs, and some of them are really good, and it's not that the other ones are bad. Actually, none of the arcs are bad. It's just it's a hour and 40 minute movie, maybe 50. It's like an hour and 42-minute movie or something like that, but it feels like a 3-hour movie. It feels so long, and the anthology arcs are hard to like comprehend in a passage of time. And it's not that they're bad. It's not that they're bad pace. It's a weird. I didn't like how long it felt, and I wasn't like looking at my watch waiting for it to pass and move on, but it just like. It was just a weird experience. It wasn't bad, but I didn't love it, and so it was my least favorite movie of his I've seen. But it had a lot of awesome moments in it. Like, you're gonna like it if you're a fan of his stuff. I wouldn't recommend it as a first time Wes Anderson movie though. So.
That's a good pitch, I guess.
Cool.
I rewatched Barry. I don't know when the last time. But
is that the show?
Have I talked to? Yeah.
I want to watch that. It's like
Barry's great. I fucking love Barry.
Seems up my alley. It's like your interests and my interests made a movie together or something.
Yeah. No, I would say so. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. I didn't think about it like that, but that is definitely. I think that is it's like 30-minute episodes. They vibe out real fast. I finished Vice Principals too.
I love that show.
I think since the last time we've talked, I finished Vice Principals. I've finished the first season of Barry again, and then I can't remember, but I've watched Arcane. Have I talked about Arcane and how much I love it yet?
I'll watch it, and we can talk about it.
I fucking love it so much. It's such beautiful storytelling.
IGN reviewed it as a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking good.
So I'll get into that. Maybe I can drag Christian into watching it too.
Do it, dude. It's beautiful storytelling.
Awesome. It's Netflix, right?
But yeah. Huh?
It's Netflix, right?
Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what I've been watching. I've been watching lots of stuff that I like.
Well, that's how it should go.
Which is good.
I changed from watching things I don't like to
yeah. Usually I'm just like really dragging myself to watching stuff.
You're like a sadist or what's that? Sado?
Oh god.
Sadomasochist? I don't know.
Sadomasochist. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening, watching. Obviously, we didn't have an episode last week. Took a little break, but we got the Two Towers for you. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah,
love it.
Go buy merch.
Hey, go buy merch at jtmerch.com. jtmerch.com. Hit us up wherever podcasts are sold. Sold for free online. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you love. Tell us what you hate. Tell us which of us you date.
Ooh.
Not John. He's taken.
Yeah. So who will be?
Who will it be? None of you. Well, as they say, on the Rohirrim in Rohan at Edoras, your poison words have lingered here long enough. Grima, eat my ass.